quorum to move ahead? Oh, and there's Tim. Good morning, Tim. So we'll get started.
Good morning.
There you go.
Good morning. And thank you, everyone. Are we set up with the tech to go out to the public?
We are live, Mr. Chair.
Fantastic. Thank you. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Information Technology Subcommittee meeting. First, I'll just ask the clerk to do a roll call.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Councillor DeRuse. Councillor DeRuse. I think you are muted, Councillor. Hang on a sec. I don't know if that's my doing or yours. Just a second here.
George,
He's
wake
here.
up. All right.
He's thumbs up. He's here.
Okay. Very good, Councillor Shirelli.
I'm good.
Councillor Suds.
Here.
Councillor Tierney.
Here.
And Chair Leeper.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? Everyone's shaking their heads. Seeing none. Can we confirm the minutes of the meeting of 25th of November 2019?
Confirmed.
Thank you. So there are communications. There's a response to inquiries, the Office 365 compatibility with outdated software data systems. Can we receive that?
Received.
Thank you. So there are two items today. There are presentations for both. So what I'll do is the first item is the open data update with the presentation. And then there's the information technology services update, COVID-19 response and recovery supports, and 2020 work plan highlights. So with that, I will ask, I'm not sure who I'm turning this over to talk about the open data update.
Councillor, it'll be myself and Matt Easton giving the presentation this morning.
Thanks. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, members of the IT Subcommittee. Thank you for this opportunity to provide an update on the Open Data Program. My name is Daryl Bridge. My colleague Matt Easton and I, wait for the slides. My colleague Matt Easton and I work within the Innovative Client Services Department and run the Open Data Program for the City of Ottawa. We are pleased to provide the IT Subcommittee an update today. Before we begin today's presentation,
I can't talk. Why?
Joking. We did want to acknowledge the efforts of Allison Gazer, Dan Todd, Ewan Hardy, Craig Nadell, and within the GIS team with Information Technology Services that provide the technical support for the Open Data Program. We also like to thank the Open Data leads in each department that coordinate the Open Data activities across the organization. Chris, can we have the slides again?
Just one moment, Daryl. We're working on it.
Perfect. Can we go to slide 2? Great. Today's agenda will outline the plans for the Open Data Program for this term of council, provide a year in review of 2019, and give you an update of what we've been up to in 2020. Next slide, Chris. The plan for the Open Data Program for this term of council has been developed based on community feedback received to continue to evolve the Open Data Program. The plan has 3 focus areas. The first focus area is to expand and optimize the open data offerings. The city will identify additional data sets for open data, prioritize and publish additional data sets as open data, and optimize the current open data offerings based on public demand to fuel digital solutions. The second focus area is to grow and support the open data community. The city will find opportunities to promote open data and open analytics across Ottawa, identify community needs, and foster partnerships that will enable digital innovation. The third and final focus area is to implement an open analytics platform. In 2019, the city conducted public beta testing and engaged the open data community to gather requirements and enhancements for an open analytics platform, Open Ottawa. The beta pilot platform was conducted in partnership with Information Technology Services to prove the functionality and concept. The platform was put into production in September of 2019. Over this term of council, the Open Data team will continue to look for opportunities to evolve the Open Ottawa platform and provide residents with more tools to consume city data to gain greater insight into city services and programs. Next slide, please. Let's look at the past year. Next slide, please. On March 26, 2019, the City of Ottawa participated in Carleton University's annual Data Day by having a booth at the event to promote the Smart City portfolio. The event brings together industry professionals, government officials, and academic leaders to discuss the latest developments in data science and analytics. Next slide, please. On April 2nd, in partnership with Information Technology Services, the City of Ottawa launched a beta version of Open Ottawa, the city's new open data platform, as part of a Civic Tech meeting held at City Hall. Thank you to the chair and the members of the IT subcommittee for attending the beta launch. Next slide, please. As part of the beta launch, we leveraged the city's digital engagement platform, Engaged Ottawa, to gather feedback and ideas from the community related to open data. Engaged Ottawa aligns with the cities of Ottawa's public engagement strategy to create meaningful participation with a diversity of residents. The digital platform provides us with the opportunity to hear from the public, understand their data needs, learn how residents are using data to solve civic issues, gain insight on the usability of Open Ottawa platform, and gather ideas to further evolve the open data program at the City of Ottawa. Next slide, please. On April 9th, I had the opportunity to sit on a panel at the University of Ottawa's Telford School of Management on the topic of how organizations use data for social good. This panel was made up of industry and academic experts in the area of data sharing, privacy, security, and management. Next slide, please. On May 3rd and 4th, I attended the Go Open Data Conference in Toronto, had the opportunity to sit on a panel on the topic of open data standards with fellow panelists from the province of Ontario's Digital Services team and the president of the Municipal Information Systems Association, MISA. Next slide, please. On May 29th, in partnership with the Government of Canada's Open Government team, the City of Ottawa hosted a local side event at City Hall as part of the 2019 Open Government Partnership Global Summit. Thank you to the chair for providing the opening remarks for this event. The summit brought together representatives from the 79 member countries and 20 local governments from around the world. The goal of the summit was to share knowledge and together create solutions for more open and transparent governments around the globe. Next slide, please. On September 24th, we moved the Open Ottawa platform into production. The platform provides more visualization tools in order to make open data more easily available for public consumption. Key features include digital storyboards, applications that use city data, interactive maps, application program interfaces, APIs to access city data. Now I'll turn it over to my colleague Matt, who will share some additional 2019 initiatives and activities we have undertaken in 2020.
Next slide, please, Chris. All right, thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on December 4th of 2019, the Public Sector Digest released the results of their annual Open Cities Index survey, which benchmarks open data programs across the country, and named the City of Ottawa as the third most open city in Canada. This marked a substantial improvement for us from our 10th place ranking that we received on the previous survey. Next slide, please. Also in December of last year, we joined the Ways for Cities data program. As I'm sure many of you are aware, Waze is a popular crowdsourced navigational app that provides real-time traffic updates to help commuters better plan their routes. By joining this program, the city also receives high-level traffic pattern and incident data from Waze. Next slide, please. Overall, in 2019, the City of Ottawa released 28 additional data sets, bringing the total number of data sets in our catalog to 303. We've attached the full list of data sets as an addendum to this report, but some examples that we wanted to share include the rental market analysis that provides vital statistics related to Ottawa's rental housing inventory, including the cost of rental housing in different sizes and locations, the crime statistics, which includes all founded Criminal Code of Canada offenses reported to the Ottawa Police between 2014 and 2018, the Ottawa Public Library's most requested titles, which gives us a snapshot of holds aggregated by title for popular item categories of OPL. And lastly, the streetlight map, which provides maintained city streetlights, wall-mounted lights, pedestrian lights, and lawn lights. Next slide, please. Obviously, 2020 has been a year like no other. So as part of today's presentation, we wanted to provide you with an update on the activities that have taken place in 2020 to date, beginning with some of our COVID-related activities. Next slide, please. So in an effort to increase transparency and public awareness, the daily COVID-19 dashboard was developed in partnership with Ottawa Public Health, Information Technology Services, and Service Transformation. The data in this dashboard is based on information extracted from Ottawa Public Health's COVID-19 Ottawa database, known as the COD. The dashboard provides up-to-date information on COVID-19 in Ottawa, including indicators for local monitoring. Next slide, please. As of August 31st, 2020, Ottawa Public Health has released 7 different data sets related to COVID-19 on Open Ottawa that have cumulatively generated over 224,000 downloads. So we've highlighted 4 on this slide, and they include the COVID-19 case and death counts in Ottawa, the data tables that support Ottawa Public Health's public COVID-19 maps on their website, the COVID-19 source of infection data set, and the COVID-19 cumulative rates by age in Ottawa data set. Next slide, please. Including our COVID-19 data sets to date, the City of Ottawa has released approximately, well, not exactly 46 data sets in 2020, bringing the total number of data sets to 349 on Open Ottawa. We've highlighted 4 non-COVID sets on this slide, which include the marriage licenses, death registrations, and commissioner votes, giving monthly totals of completed transactions at client service centers. The e-scooter data, which provides the map of available e-scooter rentals across Ottawa. We could say that app developers are already integrating this data set into their apps for residential use. The bicycle theft data, which contains all bicycle theft occurrences between 2015 and 2019. And finally, the listing of licensed childcare providers, which is taken directly from the Ontario Ministry of Education. Next slide, please. So in addition to our data set activities, Daryl and I have had the opportunity to participate in a number of public engagements over the course of 2020. The first week of September, Daryl and I had the opportunity to be mentors and judges for over 300 incoming engineering students at the University of Ottawa as part of their Virtual Design Week 101 event. In addition to Virtual Design Week and before COVID, the Open Data team also provided a presentation in January of this year to the Canadian Museum of Science and Technology on Smart Cities and Open Data as part of the museum's Curiosity on Stage speaker series. Then in early March, the Open Data team supported the Federal Treasury Board at one of the workshops they were undertaking at City Hall as part of their series of consultations on Canada's Open Government in Action Plan. Looking ahead to the remainder of the year, our next outreach will be taking place at Carleton University, where Daryl and I will be speaking later this week to the second-year Big Data and Society class, as well as to the 4th-year Critical Data Studies class in early October. Now I'd like to turn the presentation back over to my colleague, Daryl. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Thank you, Matt. Over this term of council, the Open Data team will continue to focus on releasing data to the public that is aligned with the strategic priorities of the city and public demand. The team will continue to foster strategic partnerships with the Open Data community, academia, civic tech groups, nonprofit organizations, residents, businesses, and other levels of government to encourage open data utilization, data sharing agreements, and developing solutions using open data offerings to enable digital solutions that help improve the lives of the residents of Ottawa. With this term of council, the Open Data team will look for opportunities to evolve the Open Ottawa platform and provide residents with more tools to consume city data to gain greater insight into city services and programs. Next slide, please. This concludes our presentation this morning. Thank you to the IT subcommittee for the opportunity to provide an update on the Open Data program within the City of Ottawa. Matt and I would be happy to answer your questions or take your comments.
Thank you very much, both. I'm feeling a bit wistful at looking at some of those photos of people sitting at conferences and engaging face-to-face. Seems like forever ago. I don't see, oh, sorry, I've lost my participants list. There we go. I don't see, oh, there we go. First hand up. Panelists, Tim is first, Councillor Tierney.
Actually, I think Councillor Suds had her hand up before me. So Jenna, did you want to go ahead? It's okay. It gives me time to think anyway.
Okay, Councillor Suds, go ahead.
You're so kind. Good morning. I apologize. For some reason, I'm not seeing the raise hand function on my screen this morning, but thank you, Councillor Attorney. I don't have too many questions, but first of all, I just want to say, you know, when I read through both reports actually for today's meeting, I was really floored by how much you've achieved, and I'll say particularly the support that you've lent during COVID. And I'm speaking on both reports a bit here, but specific to open data, obviously the importance of the COVID data sets that you're creating, I think is witnessed by I think you said 224,000 downloads. So a huge kudos for all of the work that you're doing. I think it's incredible, and it's a great reflection on your expertise and capacity as a team. The one question that I did want to ask is with respect to the priority around expanding and optimizing your open data offerings. My question is, how are other departments in the city and employees at large engaged? And I ask that because I see a lot of tactics around engaging the broader community and the open data community, which is fabulous. But I just want to hear, how are we thinking internally to encourage other departments to think about the possibilities?
That's a great question, Councillor, and thank you for the comments around COVID-19. It's been a great relationship we've had with Ottawa Public Health, and we continue to work with them in terms of releasing data sets. In terms of internal promotion, our governance has, we have what called open data leads in every department. And those open data leads meet on a quarterly basis, and they kind of lead the releases within their departments. In terms of broadening that reach, we're actually thinking of creating kind of like a data club. And we had one before COVID-19 started, and we're thinking of bringing back the data club. And the data club is a club that's open to any city employee who's interested in data, because we feel there's data interest across the organization. You don't need to be a technical individual, but there are people working on other initiatives in the city that have interest in data. So we are thinking of bringing back the data club, but given the COVID restrictions, doing it in a digital way.
Fantastic. I think that's great, actually, because to your point, I think there likely is a lot of interest beyond just potentially those open data leads. And in my mind, you know, one way to really embrace this as a city is to make sure that we're, you know, talking and engaging with employees. So that sounds like a great idea, and I'm happy to join the data club if it does get up and running.
Excellent.
Other than that, I just had one remark. I did see some comments and some questions come in from I believe it's Matthew Darwin. Some pointed questions that I think are, you know, I hope that we can get responses back to. I'll leave it at that. I won't go through them one by one now, but hopefully we can get responses back on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. And Tim, with my apologies, it does look like we have a public delegation. Tracy Lario is one of our delegations.
He has not registered to speak, Councillor.
She's in the participant list, and she has her hands up. With the committee's indulgence, I'd like to treat that as a public delegation. I know Tracy often has excellent input to provide. So, Chris, can I ask you to turn the mic over to Tracy before we resume with member questions?
I'll make her a panelist, and we'll add her to the list.
Bear with us, Tracy. We'll be with you in 1 sec.
All sorted on my end.
Great. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm nice to see everybody, and nice to be joining this committee or to participating in your committee. I'm very impressed with the work that Daryl and Matt and the rest of his team have done, particularly on the COVID stuff and the really interesting data sets that have been released. That those are unconventional data sets, and people have been asking for those for a very, very long time. So it's fantastic to see those. The one question that I did have was, what is the data agreement that the city has with Waze? in terms of ownership, in terms of access, in terms of crowdsourcing, and do you capture any private information? Because even though it's a public user contributed service, do you keep the names of drivers and so on? That's more curiosity, but the one that I'm really interested in is what's the data agreement that you have with Waze?
Thanks. So the rules of the committee are such that delegations don't get to ask questions of staff, but we will.
Sorry about that.
No. As member questions resume, I'm certain that we'll get an answer for that, Tracy. So thank you very much. And with that, Councillor Tierney, you have the floor.
Great. Thank you very much. We've come so far and so long over. I was just thinking back. Oh my God, I'm almost at my 10th year now. And what a transformation and data sets. I'm aging myself here. But all I have to say, thank you. Great work, tremendous work. So first of all, I think I want to go with the question about privacy and the data that is being used by Waze. If you could answer that question, I think that's very important.
Certainly, Mr. Chair, that is a great question, and I thank Dr. Lorio and Councillor Tierney for it. So just to clarify around the relationship with Waze, we've joined the Waze Cities for Data program along with approximately, I believe, over 1,000 other cities across the globe. What this program entails, we, of course, the City of Ottawa has been operating with an open traffic API for some time now to allow other users to access our traffic incident related information, construction, etc. So that is relatively unchanged and is available to anyone. In the case of Waze and the data that Waze shares back to us, this is largely, well, in fact, entirely high level congestion related information, incident related information. There's some dashboarding that they provide that allows us to draw sort of patterns and inferences over time. It's an evolving partnership. There's new dashboarding that is coming online on a continual basis as we go forward. But I can tell you that absolutely no individual user information or specific information is provided back to the city. This is all anonymized and serviced back to us at a high level, again, with the intention of drawing inferences over time across our road network.
Great, and thank you for that. Our privacy concerns are always forefront. Second, all the great data sets and work you're doing with Ottawa Public Health. Just wondering, how much are we involved on the additional component that they're adding in that Dr. Verrett just mentioned in a recent update that they'll be releasing, hallelujah, the Ottawa Neighborhood Study 103 zone versus our 23 zone. Are we working very closely with them? Are we on track for the 28th?
Yes, we are working closely with Ottawa Public Health and Ottawa Neighborhood Study to release, so that data will be available. They're revising the mapping feature right now that's currently available on ottawa.ca. And the associated data set we are working with Ottawa Public Health to release as well.
Okay, that's great. I have lots of comments. So we're still on track though for the end of the 28th, the end of the month or whatever it was. I think it was 28th I have written, yeah.
Yes.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Tierney. Seeing no other members' hands up. Councillor Sudds did make mention of Matt Darwin's questions. I am going to pose those in this forum because I think that there are probably a number of people who may sometimes experience frustration. So the first of the questions that was being posed by Mr. Darwin was, what is the process for responding to feedback on data quality? I think Mr. Darwin sometimes feels frustrated that he points out issues, data quality issues with some of our data sets and doesn't see action on those. So what is the process for responding to feedback on data quality?
So thank you, Chair. Currently, there's two processes to receive feedback from the public. So our first channel is Engaged Ottawa. It's an open channel that we have an open dialogue with the public. And we also have an open data mailbox. So once the open data receives the feedback from the data stewards, we then submit it to the department to respond. The department prepares a response and we provide it to the individual. If changes are needed to increase the data quality in the data set, the department does that. The department itself is the data steward behind the data set. The open data team is mainly just the coordinator behind the program.
What kind of tracking is done on that to ensure that, where issues are raised, the staff who are the stewards of that data actually make the changes?
This is an area of improvement, Chair, that we make. Currently, we're tracking using email and spreadsheets. We are exploring the use of a client relationship management software to see if that would be a better suited towards this.
Thanks. I do take that very seriously, and I hope that that is something we can move forward. And then when quality issues cannot be easily addressed, what is the process for informing data users? Are errata published on the open data portal?
So we always respond to the individual. So if the inquiry comes through email, we respond through email. If the inquiry comes through Engaged Ottawa, we post it on the Engaged Ottawa site. We are looking at increasing the metadata itself on the data set. So we have a field for accuracy, and that field will then be updated to reflect the state of the data. We are dealing with some legacy systems where some changes to the data itself can take many years. Mr. Darwin has mentioned that in his inquiry. And sometimes the operating department then has to prioritize that work against their existing work plan. So one of the things we're looking at is enhancing the metadata itself so that all users are aware when they're using the data, the state of the data is in.
Thank you for that. And again, that's important. So that if you're looking at the data and there are issues with it and you're coming at it fresh without an understanding of some of the context, that you understand there may be data quality issues and don't simply assume that it is correct. Guys, thank you very much. Open data is obviously one of my priorities for this term, and we're making great strides on it. So thank you very much for that. So can we receive the report?
Received.
Thank you. So our second presentation is Information Technology Services Update, COVID-19 Response and Recovery Supports, and 2020 Work Plan Highlights. Sandra or Valerie, am I turning that over to you?
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Before we start the formal presentation of the report, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce Brian Wilson to you. Brian was hired as our Chief Information Security and Digital Risk Officer at the beginning of March, which was an exciting time to start a new position, with the pandemic changing the way we do business only 2 weeks later. Brian is a security specialist with a focus in the area of IT security, risk management, and compliance, with over 25 years of experience in the security field. He has significant experience through security leadership positions at financial institutions, including a previous role as a CISO, and most recently as Director of Security at Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation. With a focus on supporting the corporation to manage and address our response to the ever-changing cybersecurity landscape, he takes an enterprise view of risks and regulatory requirements, which complements the ongoing security practices in ITS. Mr. Wilson has been critical to evolving the city's security practice and reports directly to myself while working closely with the CIO. I'll turn it over to you, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me the time to introduce myself and discuss how I can positively affect the security posture of the city by bringing a strong background in both the technical and risk management area of security. I'm a retired member of the Canadian Forces Intelligence Branch, where I was involved in information and IT security at the most sensitive levels concerning national security. Upon retirement, I transferred my skills and acquired some new ones to the enterprise world, where I found engagement in areas such as security audits, cybersecurity, business continuity, physical security, information security, and other such security management disciplines. So I've done a lot. But in the last 7 years, I've been leading security in large public and private enterprises, mostly with a focus on transforming security programs from more traditional implementations to more agile and digital-first way of working, which is a much different aspect of security. I very much look forward to continuing my work with the city, and I'm committed to making myself available to discuss security issues and answer any questions you might have as we move forward. Thank you very much.
So I think, Sandro, you can move to the rest of the presentation.
Perfect. All right, thank you. If we can go to the next slide, please. Well, thank you, Chair and committee members, for allowing me to present an update on the ITS work plan and to share some highlights from our COVID-19 response initiatives. Information Technology Services is a key partner to all service areas across the City of Ottawa, enabling technology solutions that support optimized, efficient, and innovative service delivery. In ITS, we see ourselves as innovative change agents, valued partners, and trusted custodians. We are change agents because innovation is at the heart of what we do. We have an eye to the future to ensure that today's investments in technology yield results for many years to come. Partners. We're partners because we engage and align our efforts to the priorities of the city's departments and services by providing modern and stable technology solutions that make it possible for city staff to deliver world-class services to our community. And last but not least, we are trusted custodians of the city's computing and information environment. Our job is to lead the way by ensuring the city's assets and information are secured. If we go to the next slide, please. In consultation with internal clients, ITS develops an annual client-centric business-first work plan that aligns with the city's and respective departments' strategic priorities and responds to emerging needs and client changes. ITS work plan goals include ensuring business priorities are achieved and the return on investment is maximized. On March 13th, the city put plans into action to help curb the spread of the virus, keeping the safety of our employees and residents at the forefront. The global COVID-19 pandemic necessitated substantive adjustments across the corporation as lines of business recalibrated to deliver services safely and reliably. These unprecedented times brought on many challenges, especially for those of us who are accustomed to working on site at one of our many city facilities. ITS has been instrumental in supporting the multiple city task teams and operations as thousands of city employees were suddenly required to work from home to help curb the spread of the virus. I'm so impressed by how our city colleagues have kept the many wheels on track during this unprecedented time. I'm very proud of the innovative solutions implemented by the ITS team and our business partners over the last 6 months. ITS continues to work closely with our clients and partners to discover new ways that we can leverage technology to continue to innovate, improve, and integrate our day-to-day work. ITS also takes pride in ensuring we pay close attention to industry advances and prepares and plans for evolving needs in an ever-changing technology landscape. Ask anyone in ITS, and they will agree we're accustomed to responding to unexpected emergencies. Examples are this year with COVID-19 and ITS roles in the past years of standing up command centers during flooding and tornado events. We were watching world events carefully in 2020, and as we prepared our own operations, we also anticipated we'd be instrumental in supporting the organization in new and immediate ways. ITS proactively planning meant we were able to quickly respond to urgent needs, particularly supporting Ottawa Public Health, emergency and protective services, and community and social services. ITS was proud to have been called upon to deploy dozens of ITS colleagues during the early days of the crisis, either directly with one of those service areas or behind the scenes to support them. We were honored to play a key role in supporting our city's vulnerable population as we partnered with community and social services and devoted many resources to support the thousands of city employees who quickly pivoted to a work from home environment to maintain important services delivered to our community. We knew in March that ITS was going to be a critical piece for the city succeeding in keeping our business running for our internal clients as well as our residents. Therefore, within ITS, we created our own response teams. We created a VPN connection team to help with the infrastructure to make sure that we can support all of our employees from working from home. We created a desktop laptop team to help individuals either get new laptops or how to use their laptops, desktops at home. We set up a group to help people who are working from home And we also set up our own response team to help with teleconferencing options. Our platform supported departments as they adapted their operations in a COVID environment. Each day, we have approximately 3,800 staff connecting to the city's network via VPN to access services such as MAP, SAP, and Maximo. Our response team ensured we had a stable and reliable infrastructure. And with the help of our ITS response teams, which were assembled in the early days of COVID-19, we deployed Windows Virtual Desktop to network staff who did not have a city laptop, allowing them to securely use their PCs from home. In addition, the creation of the remote working pages on the ITS Office 365 SharePoint site have been important resources for employees and are packed with tips and tricks on how to set up equipment at home and remotely access city email. The pages also contain city-specific information to increase knowledge about Office 365, applications such as Teams, OneDrive, and SharePoint. To further support our employees, ITS rapidly deployed our new internal chatbot, which we call OBOT, accessible through Teams. OBOT helps answer IT, human resources, payroll, pensions, and benefit questions, allowing individuals to get that information very quickly without calling frontline help. I'd like to thank our ITS staff for their commitment and dedication to their jobs. We at the city are very fortunate to have such a fantastic ITS team. I know ITS stands for Information Technology Services, but over the last 6 months, it stands for incredible team spirit. The team came together and for the last 6 months have worked tremendously to try to help our business partners. I also think it stands for innovative technical specialists. The solutions these people come up with is amazing and so quick and so excellent at any time. And it also stands for ideal team sharing. We've all come together within ITS to support one another. When I ask them to complete something for me, they don't ask what, but they ask when and who do you need this for? They're just a fantastic team. And so please allow me to take this opportunity to highlight some of the initiatives ITS has implemented in support of our clients' diverse needs to efficiently perform day-to-day work activities from home and other COVID-19 responses in the early days of the crisis, OPH. Ottawa Public Health had an urgent need for a digital COVID-19 case and contact management solution to replace their existing paper-based process and allow for a safer, more efficient way of managing the increasing volume of cases and contacts. Knowing that we're going to need a solution immediately, we leveraged an application previously built by another health organization, and we adapted it to meet OPH's needs. Our team integrated the solution into the city's infrastructure, ensuring security and privacy requirements were managed. This solution provided the ability to create reports and data extracts that were essential in meeting daily provincial reporting requests. And we continue to work with Ottawa Public Health to see if we can automate or provide additional assistance as we are currently experiencing higher volumes of positive cases. For long-term care. As a 24/7 essential service, the city's long-term care residents urgently required a number of communication-related technology supports. These needs emerged as residents became disconnected from loved ones who were suddenly unable to enter long-term care facilities. In response, ITS partners with community and social services to provide dozens of tablets, cell phones, Wi-Fi pucks. This equipment provided residents with the ability to Skype, FaceTime, and call family and friends. In addition, a Zoom license was provided to facilitate long-term care's virtual town halls that kept residents, families, and friends informed. A self-serve online booking tool was developed at 3 of the residents to improve the scheduling of phone, video, window, and garden visits. Over 1,180 bookings were created between June 26 and mid-August. Our friends at Clerks. Though most network employees leverage their existing Microsoft Teams licenses for day-to-day meetings, our own internal conferencing team within ITS provided additional conferencing options that best fit respective needs. In the early days of the pandemic, it quickly became evident that council, committees, and other city public meetings would need to move online to adhere to physical distancing directives while maintaining operations transparently and ensuring accountability. ITS worked closely with the city clerk's office and OPH to secure conferencing licenses, ensuring that security and accessibility requirements were met and that meetings could be simultaneously broadcast on YouTube. One such meeting was the multi-day planning committee zone meeting, which included 110 speakers. ITS continues to provide technical support behind the scenes for our colleagues and clerks. Next slide, please. I just want to highlight a little bit with regards to some of the activities that have happened with some of our tools. Without the successful deployment of Office 365 last year, the transition to move our administrative workforce to a remote working environment would not have been as robust. Office 365 not only brought us into the present, but it positioned us well for the future. Employees were immediately and seamlessly able to securely leverage the cloud-based Office suite, facilitating the sharing of important internal communication from Ottawa Public Health, the city manager, human resources, and departmental leaders. There has been a significant increase in the use of our collaboration and conferencing tools since the early days of the pandemic, as highlighted on the slide. Adoption rates skyrocketed as employees quickly adapted and flourished in the new work from home environment, and the return on our investment increased exponentially. Next slide, please. And this summer, we accelerated plans to provide network access, email accounts, and online Office 365 to almost 5,000 employees within 5 departments who previously had a demographic of non-network staff. Among a host of the benefits, this enablement will provide employees with the ability to access up-to-date departmental and corporate information and online services, communicate via the new tools, and set the foundation to implement future employee-focused technology services. Recognizing this is an evolution, ITS will continue to be available to support technology adoption. Next slide, please. Our work plan. This is just a small glimpse of all the work that we did, but I wanted to highlight some of the great accomplishments that ITS has done in 2020. Building on our platform rationalization policy, modernization approach, evolving our intake process, and investing in our people, ITS continues to lead initiatives and projects to advance the city's strategic priority to deliver service excellence through innovation, enhancing our information technology and digital capabilities, and promoting and supporting innovation across all lines of business. Despite completing pressures for IT resources to support the critical COVID-19 response and recovery efforts, ITS has made significant progress on many exciting in-flight projects and initiatives this year that I'd love to share with you. The class replacement project, which had an important milestone achieved in July with the finalization of an agreement and a contract signed with the vendor. The new solution will provide recreation, cultural, and facility services with a modern solution that continuously adapts to changes in the industry. This new solution will deliver a common registration, booking, and payment experience for city programs and services that allows for scaling up during peak registration periods and offer multilingual capabilities. We're also excited to be moving forward on the Land Management System Replacement Project, also known as LMS, after having recently successfully completed the procurement process and also signing a contract with this vendor. This will see the replacement of the Municipal Application Partnership Application, or MAP, which supports over 1,600 city staff as well as online services. This project includes 3 phases, including the building code services, planning development review, right-of-way permits, and committee of adjustments. The new solution will enhance the current level of service with a bilingual and accessible public-facing online portal for permitting and licensing, development and committee of adjustment applications, and will streamline and transform the intake process, provide self-service status monitoring and tracking, electronic documents, secure payment options, and improve performance measures and reporting capabilities. These improvements will benefit both the residents and the business community. As you know, SAP modernization continues to be a priority for ITS, and we're in the final stages of providing for the launch in October of our Ariba solution. SAP Ariba is a procurement to pay solution that delivers a new requisitioning, purchase order, and invoicing solution, replacing the current MarkView application. Ariba allows for the automation, streamlining, and standardization of processes from requisitioning to invoice handling for the entire organization. The Ariba implementation is anticipated to improve invoice processing timelines, increase spend visibility, and contract compliance, as well as improve both user and vendor experience. We have so many good news. Service, short for Social Eligibility Reporting Vendor Information System, is an application used by a number of city service providers, including employment and social services, finance services, Ottawa Public Health, housing services, 311, and dental services. In collaboration with stakeholder departments, a new Microsoft Dynamics 365 service application replacement is underway and expected to be completed by the end of Q4 2020. The dynamic solution for service replacement aligns with our software rationalization policy. The team that has been working so hard on a lot of our Microsoft Dynamics has done a fantastic job in 2020 and really modernizing a lot of our technology. Geo Ottawa. It continues to be the primary interactive map for the City of Ottawa, providing authoritative map layers of information such as parks, schools, city facilities, roads, zoning, and aerial photos dating as far back as 1928. In April of this year, ITS launched the public-facing beta Geo Ottawa, and in June, the internal Geo Ottawa for city employees was successfully replaced with great feedback from our users. The replacement of the public-facing version of Geo Ottawa is approaching completion with its final rollout in late Q4 2020. The new versions of Geo Ottawa now work on any device and provide web accessible feature which significantly improve the overall user experience. Next slide, please. One other item that we worked in 2020 was the elections. As a close partner of the elections office, ITS was engaged early to support the Ward 19 by-election. From a technology perspective, this by-election differs from previous ones in three key ways. First, the digital enablement of previously in-person services for candidates and nominations. In addition, existing systems and technical processes and procedures were adapted to support the special mail-in ballot pilot. And ITS will also be providing additional hardware and connectivity solutions to enable a live voters list that supports anywhere voting. Next slide, please. The 4 ITS audits were a top priority in 2019, as well as this year in 2020. We are working with the Office of the Auditor General for the next steps to complete the follow-up audits, and we will share the results at an upcoming audit committee. Next slide, please. I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share our work plan and highlights with you today. With so many unknowns ahead, it's important for us to take a moment to look in the rearview mirror to see how far we've traveled in a very short time. And I also like to take this opportunity to let the committee know that within ITS at the city, we're actually leaders in many fields, and many other municipalities, provincial and federal government agencies are amazed at the work we have accomplished. They reach out to me and are just astonished and ask, how did you roll up Office 365 so quickly? How are you rolling out SharePoint? How do you roll out all the solutions you have from the SAP modernization? How have you developed all of those dynamic solutions? How are you moving things safely and securely to the cloud? Our work is in demand. People would like to know, are asking, how are we getting all this work done? They ask for city staff to come to their work area so that we can show our solutions. We are true leaders in technology. So at this time, I'd like to sincerely thank my ITS colleagues. They have risen to many, many challenges, and it's been inspiring for me to witness how ITS has supported one another during these especially difficult circumstances. I also want to thank my leadership team. When I reviewed all the work this weekend of what we've done, I just realized I have to phone HR to update their job description to include juggling. Apparently that's a key component to be an IT manager. They have supported me so much. We are very fortunate to have such a fantastic management team and a full team of ITS. And I'd also like to thank our general manager, Valerie, for her support and guidance. She's been with us for 1 year, 6 months into her term. We've got COVID, and she's been so supportive, and as I mentioned, provided a lot of guidance within ITS. Successes and lessons learned will help guide ITS as we continue to move forward on important foundational projects and exciting, innovative technology solutions that support our organization and the entire community during these evolving times. I look forward to answering any of your questions, and again, thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, Sandro, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for the work that the ITS team has done since the beginning of this pandemic. You have demonstrated an incredible nimbleness, and I know that the work that you've done, particularly in assisting some of our vulnerable populations, goes even further beyond that list of accomplishments thus far. You know, I don't think that the city would be in the good shape it's in terms of continuing to provide critical services to residents without the work that you and your team have done. To you and to Valerie and to your entire team, thanks on behalf of this committee for some incredible work. And Mr. Simpson, welcome aboard. It's good to have that focus on security, something I know this committee and all of council takes very, very seriously. So I'd like to just turn it over to members' questions. First up is Councillor Tierney.
Oh, actually, Councillor Suds had her hand up first again. She's too quick. You've already had coffee today. Go ahead, Jenna.
Please.
I actually lowered it so you could go first, Tim. But okay, I'll go. Good morning, and as well a sincere welcome to Brian Wilson. I look forward to working with you, and I'm sure you'll have big impact. So fantastic to have you aboard. I just have a few questions. The first question I had, so the front desk booking solution that you've mentioned, and I've experienced it a few times myself now as well, and it's fantastic. Kudos to getting it rolled out quickly. Obviously, it's much needed during this time of COVID. My question being, is this something that we expect to maintain moving forward? And I want to say post-COVID, whenever that may be. But then secondly, appreciating that we're moving forward with a new class system, the replacement project there as well. Just curious the intricacies there.
Excellent question. Yes, moving forward, class is going to be our system that we move forward with regards to like the registrations, and that's going to be the solution. With regards to front desk, you know, there was that immediate requirement with the need of booking some of those particular appointments. So we'll be looking at, as we start moving forward, what's the best kind of technology as we start moving forward. But right now, class, that new system that we have in place, is going to be that booking solution that we have in place. And then we'll look at it from an IT perspective, really what really kind of makes sense as we start moving forward from a technology perspective.
Okay, just want to make sure I understood that. So does that mean that the, sorry, it was called front end, I think was the other one?
Front desk.
Front
yes.
desk, excuse me. Does that mean
yes,
front desk will be maintained and still used in the future as well?
Yes, and we're going to maintain it and see how we can kind of integrate it with some of our other solutions. Absolutely, yes.
Okay, but moving forward with the class system specifically for the recreation programs?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, okay, terrific. Sorry, children needing a stapler. So my second question was, I really appreciate, and I've asked a few questions in the last month, and I really appreciate the need around Wi-Fi to have pivoted, rightly so, away from some of the discussions we've had previously around public Wi-Fi. And now in the midst of COVID, appreciating that, Wi-Fi is a lifeline, frankly, for so many that are either working from home or at school at home. I was saying to Councillor Leeper this morning, I don't know if my Wi-Fi will work today. I've got 3 kids streaming at the same time. It's a challenge for a lot of people. And, I appreciate that some focus has been directed towards the more one-on-one needs and, your work around long-term care centers. I hadn't even thought about the fact that, of course, you're supporting those centers as well. So I guess where I'm headed with this is, what I've referred to, and I'm not sure I'm referring to the right name, is the rural, I think it was called rural Wi-Fi strategy. And now, pivoting to where we are today with COVID, where do you see that work going? How are we, I want to say, leading or supporting, making sure that there is, and not only rural connectivity, but making sure our vulnerable populations are connected?
Do you want me to take that, Sandro?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so thank you very much for the question. As you've rightly pointed out, the pandemic has highlighted a continued need for access to quality and affordable internet. We've seen obviously less demand for access in public facilities due in large part, they're closed. And we have seen an increasing demand for affordable quality internet in the home because of the things you've pointed out around contention for resources, but also because most of society is quickly pivoting to a digital first posture, be that for school, be that for healthcare delivery, be that for retail. So we've taken the opportunity to shift the focus towards internet access. And there are 2 initiatives in particular I'd like to point out. One is the Big City Executive Partnership, where we're working with a group of big city leaders to advocate with the federal government to invest in infrastructure required to improve access from an affordability perspective and also from an accessibility perspective for our rural areas. So this partnership will ensure a coordinated strategy that's focused on providing equity and digital access across the country. We're also supporting ISPs who are applying for provincial funding through programs such as ICON, Improving Connectivity for Ontarians, and the soon-to-be launched Federal University Broadband Fund. So we appreciate that these are big problems to solve, and we're leading, particularly in the area with the big cities, on rural access. We're a very, very big city geographically, and we have a unique perspective to bring. We've had an initial conversation with some of our federal counterparts, and that group continues to meet and continues to push forward to help inform the infrastructure strategy.
Fantastic. And I know I've asked you this question before, Valerie, but I'm going to ask it again because I think it's important. Is there, and respecting these initiatives you have just mentioned are great and necessary steps to be taken, so I applaud you for that. But is there a role as a city for us to be playing in advocating directly to, I'll say, the bigger telcos, to pressure them to be investing in the necessary infrastructure upgrades in our city to make sure our most vulnerable and our rural residents are connected?
Yes, and that's another conversation that's ongoing with the big city strategy, is how can we collectively convince our service providers and help them to be more aware of the challenges and the imperative around connectivity for all of our residents.
But do you feel like there's an opportunity for us to do this as a city outside of the big city table?
At this point, we're looking at the collective. We've just gotten started, so we would like to see if this bears fruit or not before we branch out on our own. And we're hoping for some traction in the next few months around this. And we do appreciate that this is it's a critical issue. It's an affordability issue for some of our residents. It's an accessibility issue for some of our residents, and equally for economic development, where we see many organizations pivoting to a work from home posture as a first posture. We've seen Shopify, we've seen the Conference Board, we've seen a lot of our federal agencies. So we do appreciate that this is an absolute critical piece for us to be advocating for.
Yeah, terrific. And I'm glad to hear that. And now, taking that one step further, I'm just going to say it out loud because I think we should be bold and ambitious, as I know you are. But have we as a city considered looking at partnerships or ways in which the city could provide internet access as a public utility?
So that is not a direction that we've undertaken to this point, but we're happy to take that away and do some thinking about that if it's important to you.
Well, it is important to me, and it's important to me more than ever because of where we're at. And as you've said, the importance of that connectivity for so many reasons that I think will persist beyond COVID. So I think these are longer term realities that we need to make sure that connectivity is reliable and accessible and affordable. And I think as a city, we can play a big role there. And so it is important to me, and I would appreciate any further conversations and efforts in that regard. That's all I have. But again, a huge kudos. I really enjoyed reviewing these reports, and as I said, and I'm pretty aware in this space, but I think we've all been very focused on what's happening with respect to COVID in our communities. And it was great to kind of rise above that and to realize the huge impact that your team is having on not only our employees and their connectivity, but more broadly. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sudds. Councillor Tierney?
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to echo all the points you heard from Jenna. Look, I actually sit on a board. There's a lot of topics that I was hearing here that we were discussing last week. I'm FCM board member. I'm the Ontario Caucus Chair, and we've been holding virtual meetings. And I can tell you from my board members, we are blessed in Ottawa because I hear about their connectivity issues, the challenges they have. I'm not just talking rural broadband, I'm talking about the suite of tools that they're using in their municipalities. They don't have all single source and single login and sign on. And it's just very difficult for them to work. And I think what we're discovering, and I'm hearing from employees in the city, that you've made it very seamless. So thank you for that. And to Jenna's point too, on the rural stuff, I actually reminded them last week on our FCM board call, we do have a large segment of rural. And while other municipalities are using SWIFT to access federal funds to be able to get high-speed broadband put in place in neighborhoods, I'm just looking for assurance that we're reminding the federal government that we do have such a large rural area. Just to echo what Jenna said, and Valerie, if you can give 2 words on that.
Yes, absolutely. And we have put our hand up with the big city group to lead the rural internet strategy.
Okay, so I'll follow up on that later on. I did have, first of all, OneNote, a godsend. If you haven't used OneNote, use it in your offices, people, because it is the best thing since sliced bread. But I did have a quick question about again, I'm aging myself, I keep doing this, but being in office 10 years, I've used ACT from the beginning for our case management, but it's ballooned so big that it can't be crossed over seamlessly with Dynamics 365. I'm trying to make being part of the new world, I want to use the Dynamics product. I hear that there was some back and forth about it still. when are councillors going to have access to that Dynamics product? I have enough knowledge to be dangerous in the computer world, so you can let me loose and don't worry about the guinea pig factor. I'm fine with that, but I really desperately need those tools so I can mothball ACT at some point.
Yeah, I'll ask if Beverly can give us, who's on the call as well, to provide an update on that particular project.
Hello, through the chair, I can answer that question. The ACT replacement project began, as you know, last year, I believe, looking at Dynamics 365 as the solution. We rolled it out to a few offices. I don't have the exact number at this moment. However, with the arrival of COVID, we paused that project. But having said that, we're reinitiating it right now and starting to put together, dust off the plan, put together the timelines and all those details in order to re-engage with the offices who would like to move forward.
And that's awesome. I've been working very closely with Danielle, obviously, and I heard that there was something, I think from the clerk's office, they wanted to check against, you know, standard practice, privacy concerns, et cetera, et cetera. So it seems like a policy issue more than anything. I'd really like to get cut over sooner than later. So if you can take that back and if we can try to figure out that solution, that'd be great.
We will absolutely take that away and get in touch with your office, Councillor.
Oh, thank you. And last but not least, I said it was last, but I lied. SIRE, how are we looking on the SIRE front? I know it's the 4-letter word we don't like, but what's the replacement and thoughts on SIRE?
We'll just give a moment to see if Caitlin Salter-McDonald from the clerks will hop on.
All my favorite people in one room. Okay, good.
Mr. Chair, so as you know, this current SIRE solution is one that we've had since 2012 and is being sunset shortly by the vendor. As members would be aware, we did, through a competitive procurement process, initially select a third-party vendor to replace SIRE. In working with our colleagues in IT, it was determined that this vendor solution was not going to fully meet the city's needs in regards to the replacement. And to be frank, during this COVID-19 period, it's been all the more clear that we need reliable technology solutions that raise the bar on our existing ones versus just provide a replacement of what we already have. So IT has committed the resources to work with us to identify another option to move forward with that replacement as soon as possible. And we are hoping to be able to provide an update on timelines to get SIRE replaced early in 2021. Admittedly, clerk's office pivoted all our resources to bringing committee and council meetings online. So that did not help the timelines, I'll have to say, Councillor, but we are moving forward to replace SIRE as soon as possible. And in the meantime, working with our colleagues in applications management to shore up SIRE and resolve some of the user issues that we've identified recently.
And that's great news, not just for members of the public, but specifically the committee coordinators. It's got to be very frustrating using that tool. So great to hear this. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Tim, and Councillor DeRuse.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. And that's a very good presentation. And I want to basically thank you, Sandra, for the presentation. I know it was well detailed and you explained a lot. You put a lot of effort in that one. And I also look at all the project and everything you touched on. It's really touched on our daily work, day in and day out. So thank you and your team for all that. And I'm very happy to see Brian Wilson join the team. So congratulations, looking forward to work with you. And I want to also thank Valerie Turner on her leadership on this throughout this pandemic. And we have no doubt your team has been working very hard from 365 implementation to making us be able to work at home with secure and safe login. That was very good. And it demonstrated that. It shows that hard work. So thank you very much for all that. I want to echo Councillor Jannah Suds and Councillor Turney. I'm not going to repeat the rural connectivity is very important for us to how to advocate for it. So I'm also following up also with it with AMO and some other level of government, but we're hoping that you keep this engaged and keep in mind that this is very important for our rural resident here in Ottawa. I also want to, I'm one of the office, Beverly, thank you very much for touching a little bit on dynamic. I'm one of the councilors that our office has been on dynamic in the last, we're the lucky one. I just want to tell you, Councilor Tony, it's very good. You should be using it because it's amazing, way better. I can't even compare ACT to dynamic. So thank you very much for the implementation. I'm looking forward to see all the councilors enjoy dynamic like we do enjoy it in our office. And I know that I did put an inquiry and I got the request. So thanks staff for answering my inquiry. Either though still I am not, the answer is not what I wanted to hear, but yes, it's lots of time consuming transferring from ACT and switching to 365, but we managed to do it. So thank you very much. And I appreciate the presentation. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor DeRuse. So the connectivity issue is one that we are hearing a lot about, and we're hearing more about it again today with respect to rural broadband. There is also an affordable internet component to the digital divide that I don't want to lose sight of. I'm preparing to write to some of my former colleagues at the CRTC about the importance of addressing this issue. It is a critical one, especially since we are going to be in this environment for quite some time. I do want to make sure that it's clear you have agreed to take direction to report back to this committee with respect to municipal responses to providing broadband as a potential municipal utility service.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I've heard the interests of all of the committee members around this, and we have been looking at different ways of solving this problem, right? The digital divide is a huge problem. As organizations and services move increasingly online, it becomes more of a problem. I'm going to be completely honest, this is a tough one. This is a really difficult problem to solve for. It reaches into some questions around, should municipalities be in the business of providing internet? Are they funded to be able to provide those things? City boundaries, you have situations in areas where you have a paved road and then all of a sudden you have a gravel road because you're crossing into different municipalities. So those are all of the aspects that we're looking at. The good news is that other cities equally are wrestling with these things, and we've gotten together to try to solve this collectively. And the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, as Councillor Tierney pointed out, has an interest, AMO has an interest, and the federal government has an interest. So we are pushing forward vigorously to make sure that the city's interests are represented.
Thanks. So that's great that we will hear something more explicit on that. And it's not necessarily even going to the point of becoming a city ISP. There are things that you can do, like provide the dark fiber that we have a very significant amount of that to help enable small local competitors to the telcos and the cablecos. So I'm looking forward to hearing that response back. So I don't see any other questions at this moment. You've got a direction. Can we receive this report?
Received.
Received. Moving on, there are no in-camera items that I know of. Are there any notices of motion for consideration at a subsequent meeting? Seeing none. Are there any inquiries? Seeing none. We don't have any other business. With that, can we adjourn?
Adjourn.
Adjourn.
Adjourned. Our next meeting will be Monday, 30th of November, 2020. Thank you very much to all the members and all the staff who participated today. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.